Hey gang, today I thought I'd show you one way that you can play over a somewhat exotic chord progression, the one that you heard in the opening. Now this I'm going to call playing chord notes. I'm not even going to call it playing chord tones, but we're just going to focus on playing the chord notes and developing melodies from that. The chord progression is D minor, B flat 7th, D minor again, to G. Good chord there. D minor to an altered A 7th chord. Here I'm sharping the 5th, so this is an A7 sharp 5. Back to a B flat 7th. And then A7. All right. So there we go. And it sounds kind of like this when put together. Repeats. Okay, those chord changes may be a little bit unfamiliar to you, and you may be saying, well, what scale do I play over this one? And that's perfectly understandable. It may turn out that there's multiple scales that you have to play, or that you might want to play over this one. Shouldn't say have to, because we're going to use a scale-free approach right here. One of the ones that you probably think of first is the D minor pentatonic, and that one actually works really well over most of the chords. But it kind of sounds a little bit blah when you're playing over it. You miss some of the key notes in the chords. So we're going to just really take a straightforward approach. So we're going to play basically chord tones. Okay. So it does help if you know the D minor scale. I should mention in passing that if you know a little bit more, you'll know that the D harmonic minor scale works great over pretty much everything, but playing deliberately over that G chord is really going to be helpful. Anyway, end of that little intermission. We're going to try and focus on playing the chord notes. So let's first of all, let's recognize a couple of these chords so we can go between them. So a D minor, there's the heart of that chord is right here on the second, third, and fourth strings. Right, is this right here, and I'm trying to finger that as clearly as possible. I've got it tabbed out for you so you can check that out. But here's another one up here. Right, we're used to this D minor. So knowing those two is kind of helpful because you can move between them. Here I'm bending up to this, right? So the idea is to start out getting a feel of where those chords are, and you can approach those chords maybe from one note below or one note above, or bend into them. Instead of playing this note, you might want to play that. Okay, so we'll start out with that D minor. Then we're going to a B flat 7th chord. So that one's pretty simple right there. The kernel of that's right there. And we can play either a B flat major or a B flat 7th. It's going to sound good. Then the next one is back to D minor, of course, and then we've got that G major. So there's a couple of G majors. There's this shape right here where the root is on the fourth string. A lot of people are familiar with that. There's this one right here where the root is here on the second string, 8th fret. That's helpful. That's a real helpful one because you can bend into it from, say, this note or this note right here. Or if you're bending up to get that D minor, you can just bring it back down and you get that G. And that sounds great. Okay, and there's also the G that's up here, right? 12, 12, 12. All right. Then we've got the D minor again. That's all fine. And then we've got this exotic chord. Now, I'm playing very deliberately, or I'm going to play very deliberately over that chord, and you may not be familiar with that chord. So on the kernel of the chord, the second, the second, third, and fourth strings are 6, 6, and 5 respectively, and respectfully. So we'll target those notes, you'll see, very deliberately over that chord. And then, of course, it just goes back to a B7, back to an A7. So I want to show you one exercise that you can do to kind of build up your ability to do this. It really is simply playing one note per chord change. And that's all we're going to try and do the first time around, the second time around. And you even saw me in the improvised section. I started out a little more tentative, so it kind of mimics that. All right, so here's the exercise. We're just going to play one note per chord. Simple exercise. You can put it on a looper, put that on a looper, and do it yourself. Here we go. So I couldn't resist adding in one more note. But anyway, you get the drift. You can try that with one note, then with two, and it'll get your ears really tuned into those chord changes, and you'll start to hear melodies, and you'll start to see the chords much more clearly, what you can bend to. It's really a great little exercise to get you into it. And notice, you don't need to know any scales to do this, okay? And it sounds great over a strange chord, all of that. Okay, hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you on down the road.